Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing right, Jared. Doing pretty well. How are you doing, Jared?
Doing all right. It's a new tradition. It's a good tradition. There we go. May have also just bumped the can onto the microphone, so sorry about that, listeners. You win some, you lose some, I suppose. Speaking of win some, lose some, we're talking about Northwestern.
Another noon game. Another noon game. For
and Ohio State fans are very salty about the noon game thing this week.
Heading to Wrigley Field.
I'm just going to say this.
On the Wildcats of Northwestern.
I'm just going to say this about all the turmoil in regards to Ohio State fans and the noon game. Don't come after my boy Gus Johnson. Don't come after my boy Gus Johnson. That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Gus Johnson's my boy. Don't come after Gus Johnson. Oh, he was awfully low energy. Yeah, you want to know why Gus Johnson was low energy? Because we were destroying Purdue. And I think here's my psychological take on it. I think Ohio State fans, when they hear Gus Johnson,
too much into it.
Well, maybe, but when Ohio State fans hear Gus Johnson not getting excited, I think the anger might be too strong of a word, but the issue I think that Ohio State fans are having, and I'm not even saying that they're aware of this, but I think the issue that Ohio State fans are having is that they're having their own feelings projected back at them, which is that when Ohio State does well, we simply expect that to happen. Gus Johnson's acting like, well, of course Ohio State got a touchdown. We expected Ohio State to get a touchdown. And we feel the same way. It's this thing that it's the worst thing about being an Ohio State fan, and I'm sure the other like super successful programs have the same thing, where it gets to the point where watching the games isn't fun. And it gets to the point where watching the games isn't fun because either you blow out the other team and you go, it was Purdue. You beat the other team and you're mad that you didn't beat them more, or God forbid you lose, and then your week's ruined.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are upset at Gus Johnson because he's feeling what we're all feeling, which is we only feel relieved when good things happen and we feel upset when bad things happen. That's my take on it.
All right. Well, let's get to know Northwestern here. Northwestern Wildcats coming into this game 4-5, 2-4 in the Big Ten here, coming off a overtime victory over Purdue a couple of weeks ago. So they had a bye week. So this would be two teams in a row, Jared, that Ohio State would be playing teams that were coming off of a bye week here. Not saying Northwestern is going to make it interesting, but just
make that
just interesting.
Make that 3 next week.
Yeah, two weeks ago they played Purdue, beat them in overtime, 26-20, and were a no-show the previous 2 weeks. Against Iowa 40-14 and against Wisconsin 23-3 here. Looking at the team here as a whole, Jared, not great. Not great. I mean, the defense is okay.
Above average.
The defense is okay. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's okay. They're letting up about 21 points, 22 points a game here, 350. Total
I have
for
23.8.
I think the stats I have include the FCS Eastern Illinois.
Correct. And my stats don't.
So, okay. They're still trying to find the identity here from what we're seeing here. Quarterback Jack Lausch. I think is how you say it. Lausch. Not the most accurate quarterback here. If I'm looking at the numbers here, I can do math. I swear I can. 53% completion for the year.
53.6.
5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for the year. But he does get a little happy on his feet. Has rushed the ball for 218 yards as well. So something to keep an eye out for in this game to see if he tries to make plays on his feet here. We've seen a number of times this year with this Ohio State defense try to get to the quarterback, and the contain's not there. The quarterback's able to find an opening and make some positive yards. Just
now, I will say
to keep an eye out for.
The past 3 or 4 games, Ohio State has played against a quarterback who is not someone who you would game plan as a runner. In fact, and I don't just mean they're not athletic, I mean they just don't run. Statistically going into the game, and I know this for sure because I make this graphic and we talk about this, like Rayola's not a runner, Aller's not a runner, Purdue quarterback's not a runner, Hudson Card. Past 3 or 4 games, we've had a quarterback run on us a fair amount, but in every single one of those cases, I think Ohio State was just like, cool, take it. You're not a runner. We're not game planning against that. So I do think it'll be interesting this time around, where Northwestern has a pair of quarterbacks, and both of them appear to be at least willing to run. I don't know if it's fair to like call them dual threats or whatever, but, or, you know, especially with Lausch, but like they're capable of running. They have run a decent amount.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting
Purdue
to see if we see, you know, a little more, say, Sonny Styles or whoever it might be running more of a quarterback spy, or just if they change up how they're blitzing just to account for that.
Yeah, against Purdue here, he's rushed it 11 times, against Wisconsin 10 times, Indiana 9 times, Washington 13 times. Now, I don't know how many of those are sacks, but just some numbers to throw out there. Wouldn't surprise me. And you know, I'm going to take a quick peek, see if Austin has this as an over under here.
Don't cheat.
Does not appear that way.
I'll say this: of his 61 carries,
over under how many rushing attempts he was going to have.
Of his 61 carries, only 12 of them have been statistically sacks.
Okay.
On the season, I don't have a per game breakdown.
Okay, so almost 50. So
yeah,
right. Fair enough.
All
right.
Running backs. Go for it, Kyle.
Cam Porter and Joseph Hyman are the 2 main running backs here. Porter's the one getting the majority of the carries, 97 attempts, 387. 6 went for touchdowns, and Hyman ends up with 44, 230, and 2 touchdowns as well. Not great numbers. I'll just be honest, not great numbers there. And looking at like some of the games that they played too, especially against just the games in general here. Nothing really stands out to me here.
I will say this:
I feel like that they see who's the hotter hand for that game. Like we'll see here that recently Cam Porter's been getting majority of the carries there, but Joseph Hyman can make some breakaways here against Purdue. He had a 51-yard touchdown run in there too. But expect probably more so number 1 Cam Porter to get projectively more carries in this game, but would not surprise me if Hyman, if he gets the hot hand here, that he could get more carries.
I will say this, yards per rush is their best offensive category per the stats that I collect for the show. And it's not to say they're good in that category. It is their best offensive category, but they are 109th in the country with an average of 3.4 per carry.
That's their best.
Yeah. Points per game, 122nd in the country. Yards per game, 131st in the country. Yards per play, 127th in the country. Yards per pass, 131st in the country.
So what you're saying here is that Ohio State should be looking for their third shutout of the year here.
I might be making that exact prediction later in the show.
All right. Moving on to their receivers here. Leading receivers, AJ Henning.
Mm-hmm.
Some Buckeye fans may recognize that name. He was a Michigan transfer, went to Northwestern in 23 and 24. He ended up having one of the touchdowns for Michigan in the Ohio State game in 22. So AJ Henning might be a name some Buckeye fans remember. 40 catches for 426 and 3 touchdowns. And the other wide receiver, most likely probably not going to see him here. Their second leading receiver, Bryce Kurtz, possibly could return, but we'll see. But it has 27 catches for 414.
Yeah, he's questionable on the day with an injury. Kurtz is more of their big play guy. Henning's more of their possession guy. So it'll be interesting to see if they have someone else to come in and sort of take over as a big player at the wide receiver position. For the first time in what feels like weeks, Ohio State is not playing against a highly prolific tight end. It's not to say anything bad about Thomas Gordon. He has very good stats on the year, especially compared to the rest of his teammates. I really didn't think that was going to sound that mean coming out. And then I actually heard myself say it.
Yeah. Speaking of
but he's still, you still keep an eye on him, but it's going to be the first time, like I said, interesting switch up compared to what Ohio State's played the past few weeks, where you've had very stationary quarterbacks and very talented tight ends. And this week, we have more of a general tight end, more of a blocking tight end. And more of a running quarterback.
And honestly too, like if their stats from the Purdue game, if we look at that one and project what we possibly could see, may see Cam Porter get more into the as a wide receiver as well too.
Why on earth would we do that though?
He had 8 catches against Purdue.
I understand. I think if we're looking for a comp, the best we have is Indiana. Because we both played Purdue recently, so that's interesting. We beat Purdue, was it 45-0? Was that the final? I forget already. Yeah. Was it 45? All right. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Northwestern and Purdue, Northwestern did win in overtime by 6 points, 26-20. Just in case you're looking for a comparison. And if you're looking and if you're wondering well, hey, how did Northwestern do against their best opponent of the year? They lost to Indiana 41-24.
They put up 24 points. They put up 24 points, which is quite a bit compared to other games that they've played. Like against Wisconsin, they only put up 3. They only put up 14 against Iowa. So
Kyle, they only put up 13 points against Miami of Ohio.
That is true. Yeah. But
I've been saying it.
24 points.
Indiana has benefited from not playing a very tough schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying Indiana are frauds, and I'm not saying Ohio State's going to shut out Indiana and win that game by 30 points. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. I am saying that Indiana's a bit of a paper tiger.
Okay. Defensively, so we're going to swap sides here. Defensively, Jared, what's some names here that Ohio State fans should know about?
Much like Bryce Kurtz, we don't know the situation with linebacker Xander Muller. He is hurt. He is questionable. He may or may not play. Kyle, we looked it up before we started the show, and I've already forgot S-tier linebacker name. I like Xander as a name. Just saying. Kyle, we looked it up before the show started. I've already forgotten. Is it Uline? Is that how we decided we pronounce Mac Uline's name?
We're probably wrong, but we're going to go with it as is tradition.
All right. But it's a very good linebacker pair if Muller plays, which, like I said, we don't know if that's the situation. Good safety tandem in Robert Fitzpatrick and Devin Turner. And you have Taron Johnson at cornerback, and he's a very good player. Like, Taron Johnson's a very good player. It'll be interesting to see how Northwestern uses him, if they're just going to have him play the wide side of the field, not necessarily concerned about what wide receivers out there. Will they put him, on the side of the field that's more single coverage, which is typically the boundary side, but, not always. That's not always how teams line up. So it'll be interesting to see, I think, how they utilize him, because he is definitely like the best cover guy on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers, I already talked about linebackers. The defensive line is there. They have a defensive line. And I've always been told not to be mean, so I'm just going to say that they have a defensive line. As far as their overall team stats on the defensive side, considering every single one of their categories was in the hundreds on the offensive side, the defensive side is about to comparatively seem like a juggernaut. Points per game, 50th in the country, allowing 23.8 per game. Yards per game, 54th in the country. Yards per play, 48th in the country. Yards per rush, 24th in the country. Good rush defense. That's actually a good rush defense. Yards per pass, 55th in the country. Turnover margin, roughly even. Time of possession, roughly even. Respectable defense, says Esquire. Yeah. Absolutely respectable. And when it comes to the run defense, like downright pretty good. Downright pretty good. Especially given a complete lack of offense. A valid point.
Yeah,
although I will say time of possession's roughly 50-50. So, I'm not 100% sure what's happening on the offensive side of the ball, but they do seem to get, they do at least seem to hold on to the ball, if nothing else. It's not like they have some huge, time of possession deficiency. The Kirk's Ferentz special. Yeah. Yeah.
Third down conversion's not the greatest either. They're 29% in third down conversion on the offense and letting up just over 36% third down conversions too. So
okay.
I was just kind of curious, like, are they converting some third downs or what the case may be, but not really.
Not really. All right. Anything else you want to talk about specifically in regards to this Northwestern team?
Not really. This is a team that Ohio State should not struggle to go up against. But I mean, we've said that before with, how long ago was that? Like, Ohio State came into Northwestern. It was bad weather and they escaped a win in Northwestern. That was a few years ago. I forget when that was.
Yeah, but Northwestern was 2022 was so cursed. Esquire says it was 2022.
Was it that recent?
Northwestern was actually kind of good. Hurricane game, he says. Northwestern was actually kind of good at that point, though.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, 21-7 was that. What is that score there?
That was a weather game, is what that was.
Yeah. Well, there was another one in 2016 in Columbus.
Back when they were still hazing is a wild thing to say, Esquire.
In 2016, Ohio State won 24-20. That was a close game too, but surprisingly, like looking at their recent games since 2010. I mean, they didn't play until like 2013. It was Ohio State won by 10. 2016, they won by 4.
Okay, but Kyle, what's the real important question here? When was the last time Northwestern actually won this game?
You want to guess?
No, because I have no idea.
Do you want to guess, Buckeye Esquire?
Okay, we need to get to the ad and then get to the rest of the show. So how about you just tell us?
All right, it is in 2004.
2004. Esquire guessed 1985.
And then before that, it was 1971.
So 71, 2004. So they're due to beat us again in 10 years. Got it. All right. That was quick math. You say I can't do math? Well, there, I just did it. So that's one thing I'm good at. Another thing I'm good at is the ad break. We're about to play some ads on our Spreaker channel. And depending upon where you're watching this on YouTube. But before we go to those ads, I want to tell you can actually avoid these ads by going to patreon.thesloopcast.com, getting your own very own specialized podcast feed. Or if you don't want to like download the RSS and put it into your app and yada, 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 you can also just listen to it straight from the Patreon app. That's another thing you can do. And if you do nothing else, come join our Discord server and follow us on YouTube, discord.thesloopcast.com, youtube.thesloopcast.com. We've got a bunch of other links. You can find all those other links at just thesloopcast.com without anything in front of it. You can find links to all of our other links. So we're going to go ahead and play those ads now, and we will be right back. All right, Kyle. Is it time to do our predictions? I believe it's time to do our predictions.
Let's go ahead and do that. So first one here is Ohio State player to watch.
Can we introduce our guest picker first?
Sure. Actually, I forget who our guest picker is, but
you really should remember, Kyle. He is your blood.
We're talking about Cousin Jay.
It is Cousin Jay.
Cousin Jay. Winner of back-to-back in our sloop picks.
Yeah, listen, Cousin Jay kind of dominates our online sloop picks. So, maybe tune in for the sloop picks episode on Friday where Cousin Jay winning. Cousin Jay. Right, what's that? He is winning.
He's not winning right now.
Where Cousin Jay will. Well, I already know how he and I pick against each other because I make the graphic, but we'll see how he does against Kyle. All right, Kyle. Predictions. Ohio State player to watch. Who do you have?
Oh gosh. Honestly,
Kyle hadn't thought about it until just that moment, I think.
It's hard to pick these games. Like, oh, what's the one player that we need to watch for Ohio State to win this game? And it's like there's really nobody here, but I'm just gonna say I'll just say Will Howard.
Sure.
I just want to continue see Will Howard continue to be consistent, to make smart decisions. He's doing a really good job recently here. I want him to continue doing that, especially after this game. It's you got a top 10, possibly top 5 matchup coming up here the following week, and then you have your rivalry game after that. So I want to see that consistency continue on in this game.
I'm gonna go with Sonny Styles. I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but this is the first time in a while in which Ohio State will be playing against not just one, but 2 quarterbacks who are pretty decent at running, if they both end up on the field with Lausch and Wright who is Wright being their other quarterback. It'll be interesting to see, because we talked about it a bit earlier, but Ohio State's had some quarterback runs put up against them against quarterbacks who aren't known for running. So if Ohio State is playing quarterbacks who are known for running, it'll be interesting to see how the scheme changes. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust. It'll be interesting to see if they put a spot on the quarterbacks. And if they do, I feel like that's probably going to be Sonny Styles. So I'm gonna pick Sonny Styles, Ohio State player to watch.
All right. Enemy player to watch, Jared. Who do you have? Because I'll tell you who. Well, I'll start off with Cousin Jay.
Okay.
Cousin Jay says, shouldn't matter.
Okay. Fair enough. Did he tell us who his Ohio State player to watch was? Did we say that?
Oh yeah. CJ Hicks. Yeah. He picked CJ Hicks.
Interesting.
See how he responds to some semi-adversity / controversy.
Yeah.
So for Northwestern's player to watch, I'm going to go with the hot hands here. I'll go with AJ Henning here. Maybe want to prove a point here and trying to get some good plays against Ohio State like he did back in 22, getting that touchdown. He kind of comes and goes throughout the season here, so could possibly make a splash and maybe give Ohio State some fits and during some drives here. So I'll go with AJ Henning.
I'm gonna go with Taron Johnson, their cornerback. I think he's one of the better players on their defense. That's my Northwestern player to watch. In the chat, Austin says my enemy player to watch is Wrigley Field. I don't want JJ running a fade or a corner and running into the fifth row.
Yeah,
aren't you supposed to jump into the ivy? Isn't that the point? Isn't that how that works? Cushions the wall. Just saying.
Oh, I don't know if they're running towards that way.
If they're not one quarter, they probably will the other.
Maybe.
I don't know how they lay it out. Maybe I'm wrong. New rankings, by the way. Oh yeah, that's right. We are counter programming. Indiana 5. That's fine. Indiana's a paper tiger. I said it once, I'll say it twice. Key matchup, Kyle. Who do you have for key matchup?
Key matchup here. I know a lot of people were kind of kidding about the whole Wrigley Field. And, I'm going to stick by this, Jared, because honestly, it's the field. Like I worry about how the field condition is going to be at Wrigley Field here. It's not a traditional football field, and I just hope for a injury-free game here. Come in, get the win, and get ready for Indiana. Like I really worry about the field and how it's going to hold up.
Yeah, it's just I feel that. Key matchup. I'm going to go with Will Howard versus the Northwestern defensive backs. I think Northwestern does appear to have a pretty decent run defense. I don't think Ohio State will be able to just line it up and go the entire game on the ground. They're going to have to loosen some stuff up with the run game. Robert Fitzgerald, Devin Turner, Taron Johnson. Good players. Very good players.
Yeah. Fair.
Georgia first out of the current playoff rankings. Huh. Wonder where I saw that Tuesday on the Sloopcast.
And Cousin Jay, he just says Ohio State versus Ohio State.
Austin in the chat goes Ohio State fans versus Jake Butt announcing the game. Yeah. At least he's a Pickerington kid, even if he made a terrible choice at the age of 17.
30.5. 30.5 is the spread when CBS Pick'em's set the line 30.5. It has since dropped down to 28.5, Jared, as we are speaking Tuesday evening.
Really?
Yeah.
I would take
I agree. I I completely agree. I think Ohio State's going to be able to do what they want in this game, and I think they're going to do it just really effortlessly here, unless something with the weather comes up and it's just say tough sledding trying to fight against the weather here. I don't know what the weather is. I haven't even looked here. I don't know if anybody's looked at the
still feels like spring
yet.
in Ohio. I don't know what it's doing in Chicago.
Okay.
We're getting we're currently in the middle of fourth spring here in Ohio.
So I got Ohio State winning 42, Northwestern 3.
All right. I think it's fair to expect Ohio State to get a second straight shutout this week. Now, shutouts, no matter who you're playing, are difficult. So you can't guarantee that. I mean, Ohio State, Purdue missed a pretty makeable field goal, which in the end secured Ohio State's shutout last week, right? Like you almost still need a little bit of luck to get a shutout against another Big Ten team, even when they're bad.
Yep.
Now that being said, even if you don't get the shutout, I still think that they hold Northwestern to 7 or less. So let's just say Northwestern gets 7, theoretically speaking. Can Ohio State at that point score 38 or more points against this Northwestern defense? Yeah, I think they can. Yeah, I think that they can. So that being said, I'm still going to predict the shutout. I'm going to say 42-0.
All right. Cousin Jay has its final score of, since Jared hasn't done the bit at all this season, he has Ohio State winning.
The defense is too good and the games are too short with the new clock rules. The 69 bit doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry.
He has Ohio State winning 69-0, which is a nice score.
Still respect it. I still respect you for doing the joke, but it's just getting that mark with it's not realistic anymore, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately.
Yep. All right. It is time for Austin over unders.
Is it time for Austin over unders already?
It is already here.
Wow. Episode's flying by.
Ready to do some Austin over unders?
I don't love my numbers this week, says Austin. You know what? We're going to get to those Austin over unders, but first that's the wrong screen. We're going to do another quick ad break. I told you before about Discord and Patreon and YouTube. So I'm going to tell you that you can find the audio version of this show on Spotify, on any podcast app, Apple Podcast, wherever you can find their iHeartRadio, Spreaker, lots of different places that serve up podcasts now. You can find us on all of those platforms. Podcast, it's a podcast. I know. Shut up. Yeah, and if you just have any old podcast app, you can always just go straight without even searching us. You can manually add it, and you can just type in rss.thesloopcast.com. You can also check out our t-shirts at merch.thesloopcast.com and 7071.thesloopcast.com. The merch stuff is Sloopcast specific. The 7071 store, which is 7071, just sort of celebrates the state of Ohio. It has a bunch of different cities and Ohio-based stuff, so you can check all that out. And if you're like, oh, Jared, I'm driving, I didn't hear any of those links, you can just go to thesloopcast.com and you can just find all the other links there. Here is the podcast ads now. Listen. We don't need to be talking about Judge Judy like that. Now, do I agree? Yes, but it doesn't mean that we need to be talking about Judge Judy like that. All right? Come on. She's a judge, for Pete's sake.
By the way, Austin, you have Tennessee as 4th and Penn State 7th. I think you got that backwards. I think think it's Tennessee's or Penn State's 4th and Tennessee's 7th, but that doesn't matter. Austin Over. What matters right now is Austin Overs right now. So he has over-unders for Wrigleyville.
Not from what was on ESPN, Kyle. I just had it on my screen. Are you looking at the AP, Kyle? You know what? It doesn't matter.
Not.
It doesn't matter. We move forward. Everyone else can figure it out for themselves.
Northwestern completion percentage at 53.5. 53.5. I'm going to go over. I'll go over just for the fact that of the 7 games that he's played so far, he's only thrown under that twice.
But his total on the year is 53.6.
2 of those games are really bad.
And who are those 2 games against that were really bad, out of curiosity?
Washington, where he was 8 for 27.
Okay.
And Wisconsin, where he was 9 for 24.
You mean the 2 best defenses he's played so far this year? Yeah. That's what I thought. Well, I guess they did play Iowa. So 2 of the 3. 2 of the 3.
Just over 50% against Iowa.
So he still went under the number against Iowa.
He was 10 for 19 against Iowa, which I guess that is under. I'll take that back. That is under. So
I'm sticking with my under play.
All right. I'll still stick with over. Ibuka catches plus sand throwing attempts at 8.5. At 8.5.
Throwing attempts. He doesn't have to complete it. He only has to throw it. 8 of them plus Ibuka. Man, predicting who's going to get the catches is so tough because they just kind of do whatever the defense lets them do. As far as the wide receivers go,
he threw it 4 times against Purdue.
Yeah. So if he does 4 again this week, which I do think this Northwestern's a better team, although not by a lot, is a better team than Purdue, especially on the defensive side. But I don't know. This kind of feels like an Ibuka game. So even if Sayin doesn't do his side of it, I kind of feel like Ibuka will.
I'll say under.
I'm going to say over.
All right. Jared and I can't agree. So we're going to continue on. Henderson and Judkins carries at 18.5. Ooh, now this is a good line. What did they have recently, Jared? What did they have against Purdue?
Yeah.
Against Purdue, they had 17.
What did they have against Iowa?
What did they have against Iowa? As I am trying to pass time while I click on links here.
Yep, just fill in time.
24.
Okay. So if we call like 24 which is
the same number they had against Penn State.
Okay. So it seems better defenses, it's going to be like 24. Against the worst defense, it's going to be right where Austin put it, that son of a bitch.
18 against Sparty.
Yeah.
And 19 against Western Michigan. I'll say under. I'll say under. Going to try to keep them fresh here, so I'll say under.
Yeah, I'll say under.
All right, Jared and I agree for a change. Henning touches at 3.5 over.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over.
I'm not hesitating on that. I'm saying over.
Yeah, with Kurt's potential, Henning.
AJ Henning, their wide receiver.
Yeah, in one, he's more of their possession guy. So if any wide receiver is going to get 3 touches, it's going to be him. You add in the fact that Kurtz might not play, which would make him, quite frankly, might just mean Ohio State might be able to hyper focus on him and completely shut him out of the game. But if anyone on the team's going to do it, it's going to be him. So I'll say over.
Okay. All right. Simon plus Styles
Simon?
impact. Simon? Wow. Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Simon and Styles impact plays at 2.5. So sacks,
Turnovers.
fumbles. So here's a question.
Tackles for losses are included in this.
Does tackle for losses, forced fumbles, I'm going to assume is also. So if they get a forced fumble and they fumble recovery and a touchdown all in one play.
Yeah.
That's an over.
No, because it's one play. We literally had this exact same conversation last week.
Okay.
It's
okay.
That is a single play.
Under.
I'm going to go over. I'm going with this idea that Styles and that they're going to try and run the quarterback. And I think that Simon and Styles are probably going to be playing a role in trying to stop that quarterback run, which could lead to some TFLs.
All right. Fair enough. Northwestern field goal attempts plus touchdown score. So attempts on field goals and touchdown score 2.5. So this would have been under for the Purdue game.
Just barely under.
Yeah, just barely under. From what I have here in my final prediction here, I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I'm going to go under as well.
All right. Ohio State offensive touchdowns scored minus Northwestern plays of 15 plus. All right. So
Ohio State offensive touchdowns scored. So per my prediction I made earlier would be 6.
Yep. That's what I have. 6 as well.
So minus Northwestern plays over 15 yards.
So that'd be 3 plays in our prediction here then.
Under. I tell you what, I may have gone over on this. And of course, Kurtz might play, but Kurtz is like their big play wide receiver. He's their downfield wide receiver. So especially 4.5 Esquire. So if we say there's 6 touchdowns, in order to get back underneath that 4.5, they'd have to get 3 plays of 15 or more.
Honestly, this is probably your best one you've had here. Austin here. I'm going to say, I'll say over under 4.5. I'll say under.
I'm going over.
I'll say under.
I may
under 15. When you look at it, isn't a ton of yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say like 20, 25 yards, those are huge chunk yards. Now, 15 is, easy slant, and then you run and pick up like 7 more yards, and that could be easily 15 yards right there too. So yeah, I'll say under for that one.
I'm gonna go over again. If Kurtz had been, if I knew Kurtz was healthy, I might change my mind. Okay. But with it looking like he's maybe / probably not going to play.
Denzel is good for at least 1 a game.
Mathematically incorrect.
All right, that is Austin's over unders. Hey Austin, who's leading right now? I'm curious.
It has to still be you. You have a pretty decent lead on me. And I actually have no idea what our results looked like last week. If
ESPN basically issued an apology just now for getting the rankings wrong.
Okay. So Austin wasn't wrong. ESPN was wrong.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, we should have known.
Wop, wop.
Kyle is winning by a lot, he says. That's okay. I'm still winning the sloop picks.
Yep.
All right, Kyle. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Well, since it's the end of the episode, not the beginning of the episode, how about them Buckeye basketball team, Jared?
Go ahead. Good night, everybody.
Beating up Youngstown State 81-47. This seems fun to watch. This seems fun. They shot like over 40% beyond the arc there. Yeah, new coach, we get to have fun again. You get some young players coming in here, getting some play time too. So, yeah, I don't want to fall into the same trap we've had the last few years where they get hot, they look good. Oh, hey, they beat Duke. They beat a top tier team in December, and then January comes around and it's like, oh boy. So, but no, I'm happy to see a good start here. But January, once mid-January comes around, then we'll mainly focus on them.
No, we won't.
Voodoo.
Like straight up, Kyle. No, we aren't.
Right.
I'm just saying. It is what it is. All right, Kyle. Anything else in Kyle's corner?
Nope. Since you won't let me talk about basketball, I'm going to end it.
Oh, you mean I just let you did? You just did. What do you mean?
What do you mean? You got Sally in now?
Now? What? Now? You think I switched? You think I've been lying this entire time? Tonight's ending music will be by a Columbus-based band called Defiance, Ohio. Yes, they're Columbus-based, despite the fact that they're called Defiance, Ohio. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Defiance, Ohio.